Why are we ignoring climate change and what can we do about it? Well, why is it being ignored? The main reason it's being ignored is like, not an argument over facts and logic, but it's because it doesn't affect people on a personal level. Those that have the power to do something about it don't because they personally aren't affected. So therefore, they think it's someone else's problem. But this is not true. Though right now, many people aren't affected by the rapidly changing climate, they will be soon, as we see more extreme weather in the forms of hurricanes and winter storms, along with rising sea levels. And in addition to that, there's more wildfires. If this issue isn't dealt with in the next 80 years, upwards of 4 billion people could be directly affected, as many major coastal cities will be underwater or burned down. In the words of Magal Delmas, human beings aren't that great at dealing with situations that are high risk but don't happen that often. Think of earthquakes insurance. For instance, though there's a 99% chance there's going to be a magnitude 6.7 earthquake in the next 30 years in California, probably that it's going to happen in the next year and is going to affect me as a result is much lower. As a result, only 13% of people in California have purchased insurance from the California Earthquake Authority. Why you should stop ignoring climate change. It will affect you sometime in your life. Whether it be right now or 20 years from now, you will be affected. Within the next few decades, billions of people will be affected by climate change. Due to the rising sea levels, many cities will be underwater in a few years from now, which will cause major ports to shut down, and then things like food will become harder to get. Rising sea levels alone will cause 1 billion people to be displaced, and heat waves will cause 4 billion to be displaced, which will hurt everyone, whether it be directly because you're displaced or food's harder to get because infrastructure is destroyed and there's not as much of it being produced. What are we doing out about it right now? Well, in 2015, 193 countries signed a treaty to try and keep the warming of the planet after the Industrial Revolution levels below 2 degrees Celsius and, if possible, 1.5 degrees Celsius. But many countries are falling behind on this pledge already. In fact, the fact it was signed so recently. Even if we do keep the warming of the planet below 1.5 degrees Celsius, there will still be catastrophic effects. We can see this on our graph here, as the Greenland ice sheet has shrunk a lot since the year 2002 to 2018. So, what can we start doing? Well, what can the world do for one? The main reason climate change is a problem is because of companies that profit off burning things like coal to make power because it's cheap. So, if the world starts phasing out things like coal and other fossil fuels for safer and cheaper forms of power like nuclear or solar, then we can start reversing the big effects of climate change. The world can also start replanting chopped trees in places like the Amazon, where the rainforest has shrunk due to the chopping of trees to make space for livestock. If just the trees that were chopped down in the Amazon are replanted, over 1.5 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide could be removed from the atmosphere. If just replanting trees can do that, then why are we putting more carbon into the atmosphere in the first place when we could be using other forms of power that have the same results for cheaper? Well, what can you do? You may think that it's too big of a problem for you to do anything that can help. You can, however, do little things like recycling plastic bottles, and recycling tin and aluminum cans. Or you can just portion what you eat so you don't use as much food. You could also do a bit more by donating to organizations that help fight climate change, like the Clean Air Task Force, or Carbon 180, or even the ocean cleanup, which all help remove carbon from the atmosphere in one way or another. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Here are some of the sources that I used.